I believe so, because that defends also the queen on d6. So now I can take on d4.
I see. So I don't have... Whoa.
This is why I believe this is
Yeah.
much more precise than knight to d7. Because
Right.
knight d7 wouldn't defend the queen. You wouldn't be able to rip this pin away.
Gotcha. Knight d7 defends the pawn on c5, but not the queen on d6. But your knight e4, on the other hand, does both and opens up the possibility of this. c5 takes d4. So once again, we're looking at a very forcing looking line. But I'm thinking, again, to my eyes, I'm seeing an awfully weak Peshki. This backward pawn on c6, and I tell you, that's going to get a lot of white's attention.
Absolutely.
Tender loving care, as we say. A lot of TLC coming, and we will keep an eye on this all-important matchup. And again, when Maurice told us that Sam Sevian has a plus score
By the
against
way,
Wesley So.
Queen a3, knight e4 is on the board.
So
we might be going that variation.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes on this end. You've been drilling down on that approach by Fabiano, Maurice. What did you discover?
Well, vicious move.
That, I see counterplay. So, for example, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. I'm trying to play an ending of not just the fact that I'm a pawn up is why I want to get into the ending, but I'm thinking that the knight versus the bishop ending might be a little bit more fun for the knight rather than the bishop. But this is the problem. And of course, once again, the surprising lifetime score. I mean, when Maurice mentioned this, I was like, who in the heck has a plus score against Wesley So in America? I can count the number on one hand. I mean, it's not that many people, and I don't think many of us would have guessed Sam Sevian as one of those handful of people who has a positive score. What I want to say is Wesley is making a very intriguing pawn sacrifice with this move
in the opening.
e6, e5. So this is the game position. Now I'm assuming that before the move e6, e5, the traditional database moves have been to take and go into this ending that we kind of just very, very briefly
I do
considered.
believe that castle was actually a novelty, if I'm not mistaken, after queen to a4. Previously, I do believe knight to d7 or take on d4 were played.
Oh, you think the novelty was castles?
I think so.
Okay, then I stand corrected. I thought the novelty was bingo. Look at that move. Okay, so once again, we're just looking at what happens if Sam takes the pawn. Black has a compensation. How big is that compensation in your opinion after a move? I know it looks a little ugly, but bear with me for the moment. You've got some light squares, but I've got some...
It's compensation. And I think this is exactly what Wesley is trying to achieve, because I do believe he's trying to win this game. At all costs. I think he's feeling some pressure from his co-leaders.
Even burning bridges kind of costs.
Could be, because he's going to have, he is going to have white in the last round. So this is a little bit surprising, I have to say, from Wesley. But the way he's been playing the first few moves, the beginning of this opening, it pinpoints to that idea.
Well, he came in yesterday in the press conference, or with post-game, and he was very despondent. I mean, as Maurice said, he's interviewed, Maurice, you've interviewed Wesley a number of times, and that Sam answered Wesley's challenge by, first of all, accepting I think it was the first world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz, who said, the best way to refute a gambit is to accept the gambit. Okay, he accepted pawn number one, but now he saw this move queen g6. He saw that castles would walk into a vicious attacking move bishop h3. He saw that after the move rook g1, compensation abounds. Maybe this bishop might just settle on the d3 square, maybe rook b8.
I like this move because right now, with the knight on b1, you are almost forced to play b3. You don't have the long castle defending that pawn on b2. I think this is a crucial detail.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, and that was why you were so enthusiastic about the move knight d2. Rook b8 question mark. Castles is exactly what white is hoping to achieve. He hasn't injured himself in any measure. Queen takes g2, on the other hand, I think is...
once again, castles.
Exactly. And then after castles, well, let's rip. And I suppose the answer to that is rip.
I like how you made the move
I think
like
Ray
Robson.
Robson. I mean, I'm falling under the influence of Ray. If I could also make another suggestion here for Wesley, what about this one? If you take with a c pawn, then the desirable queen takes looks a lot better than my previous line. I'm not hanging the e5 pawn. If you do go for one of these rook g1 kind of attacks, I do have the move f7, f6. I don't want to reach for
with
my
the h pawn. With the h rook, sorry.
Yes, of course you do.
Rook hg1, because I want to preserve that rook from d1 to come to f1.
I think you've made an excellent case for rook for using the h rook. My goodness.
It's going to be a wild one.
What does the president of the Pawn Grubbers Association do when he has two potential pawns to capture? Normally you want to capture the one that's closest to the center.
Don't tell me you're not going to capture either.
Oh, I'm going to capture something, but if I capture this one, now I really understand very well why you waited to use the other rook.
I'm going to invite you to capture another one.
Yeah, of course.
Which I actually think you're forced.
Now, right? I'm here. I'm there. I got it. And now knight takes.
Knight takes c4.
Exactly. So f6.
I have no idea what's happening in this position.
Well, I do. I think it's a challenge for Wesley. I mean, I don't think it's lost or anything of that nature, but I understand
he's the one under attack.
Who has the initiative. But back over to you, and dare we call it the hippo or the black lion?
Well, whatever you...
Or the c3 pawn I'm going to capture on g2. And this provoked queen takes d4. We're up to date with the players. And
Rook
Wesley
to e8 was played.
said, okay, you know what? My threat to the g2 pawn is not going away. And I know if I take the g2 pawn, I'm inviting an attack along the half-open g-file. I'm going to play this steady, calm move, rook e8, which he has just done. I'm defending my pawn on e4. I'm waiting for your king to go queenside. Okay, once your king goes queenside, now it's...
And he's almost forced to go queenside, because if you go kingside, bishop h3 once again comes on the board and you lose the exchange.
Yes, and maybe even worse than that. Everything's suddenly gone wrong too, from white's perspective. So castles is definitely out. And, well, I mean, Sam is actually still in the fire. I mean,
Actually, the
please,
Indians
Maurice.
like white a lot.
A lot? Okay,
lot.
please
So,
tell me.
Takes
What,
d4 was a bad move? Is that what it is?
The Indians prefer queen takes g2 as the right move in that position.
instead of rook e8.
Instead of
He takes d4.
instead of taking on d4.
Really?
Yes.
How
queen
remarkable.
takes g2 is the favorite move.
and
as
just-
And
opposed
what
to
is the
queen
difference
g2.
after a long castle?
Yeah.
Let me go back. Queen g2, long castle, queen f2.
Yep.
And what did you guys play here? Was it d takes e5?
I think we were looking queen takes